with this. We continue with chapter 13. We are at the subtopic of chapter 13, the J curve, and we finished the J curve and the pass-through. We're going to study about why partial pass-through between the changes in exchange rate and the impact on the relative price of products, between price of products of export relative to imports or imports relative to exports. That changes is not fully, it's partial. What are the reasons? So this is from chapter 13, exchange rate adjustment and the balance of payments. I also bring this live to my YouTube rather than using the screen, rather than using the screen, I'm using the camera, because many of my YouTube broadcasts of this lecture only movement of my slides but no voice at all, because I was using the screen. Now I'm using the camera. Then and should be voice with it. And this chapter, exchange rate adjustment and the balance of payment. Exchange rate adjusts by theory according to the number one that we're going to study, the export and imports. Because exchange rate is affected by export and imports. We're talking about the current account section of the balance of payment. BOP, the top one is current account. Current account mainly import and export of products or merchandise or goods. So effects of exchange rate changes on cost and price. Cost-cutting strategies, we learned that world currency depreciation reduce trade deficit, and the elasticity approach. And the J-curve effect, the time path of depreciation and exchange rate pass-through. And we continue from the elasticity approach to other approaches, absorption and monetary approach, to currency depreciation. Why a country depreciate its currency? In order to tackle trade deficit, to achieve balance of payments, balance in the current account, to be specific, to achieve balance in the current account, to be more specific, trade balance. Because when we mention trade current account, there are trade account, income account, and transfer account. Okay, the three. So mainly the trade account, import and export of goods, import and export of services. That's the trade account, the most important in the current account. So country devaluate their currency, what we call it depreciation, in order to achieve balance in the current account, trade balances. How currency depreciation will make imports price higher. At the same time, will make export price cheaper. So it works together. Export price more expensive. Prices of did I say export? Imported price of imported goods becomes more expensive when currency has been devalued or currency depreciation. The price of imported goods become more expensive. That will reduce imports. At the same time, currency depreciation will make price of exports cheaper. Price of that country's exports cheaper. Can export more. Import less, export more. That will reduce trade deficit. Okay. So we learned this already. This is just review. Currency depreciation will improve what I said just now. Nations' competitiveness by reducing its cost and prices. And at the same time, the prices of exports will be cheaper, can export more. That's what exactly written there. I mean, the meaning behind that. Export prices or prices of your exported goods, prices of the goods that you export becomes cheaper. You can export more. At the same time, price of imported goods become more expensive. So, can depreciation reduce trade deficit? There are three approaches taken or available to achieve trade balance or to reduce trade deficit by devaluing or by currency depreciation. Number one, elasticity approach. Emphasize relative price effects of depreciation. Depreciation works best when demand elasticities are high. And there's a Marshall-Lerner condition. And this absorption approach, monetary approach. Let me read quickly now, because we'll go one by one later on. Absorption approach, on the other hand, this is on relative price elasticity. Absorption approach focus on income effects of depreciation. That's price. First one, price effects, elasticity. Absorption, income effects. Price effects, income effects. So, absorption approach focuses on income effects of depreciation. Previously, elasticity approach focuses on the price effects. Absorption, income effects. Difference, okay? Decrease in domestic expenditure relative to income must occur for depreciation to promote trade balance. So what must come? Decrease in domestic expenditure relative to income. That's the absorption approach. We're going to study this in detail next. The third one is the monetary approach. Stresses the effects of depreciation on purchasing power of money. If elasticity approach, number one, on price effects. Absorption on income effect. This one on purchasing power of money and the resulting impact on domestic expenditure. Third one, monetary approach, purchasing power of money. Now, the first one, elasticity approach. This is the elasticity. We studied that earlier in our last class. It's the response of demand with the changes in price. See price at the bottom, the ratio of price. On the top is quantity, the change in demand, the change in purchases as response to changes in prices. That's elasticity. More than one is elastic, less than one inelastic. So that is a Marshall-Lerner condition. For depreciation to work, to be effective, to reduce trade deficit, is for the sum of the two elasticities must be more than one. What elasticities? That countries demand elasticity for imports. That countries, the country that's doing devaluation or depreciating the currency, that country's elasticity, that countries demand elasticity of imports. That countries demand elasticity for imports. Plus other countries demand elasticity for exports of that country. Wow, complicated. Plus the demand elasticity of foreign countries toward these countries export. Okay. Let me repeat. This is country A. Country A doing the currency depreciation. Country A, okay? Marshall-Lerner condition says that the demand elasticities for imports of country A, the demand elasticity for imports in country A, imports coming to country A, plus the demand elasticity for exports of country A must be more than one for the depreciation to be effective, to be able to reduce trade deficit and bring balance. Must be more than one. That's the Marshall-Lerner condition. Otherwise, if it's less than one, trade deficit will worsen. If it's equal, well, neither worsen, neither better. So this is the first one on the top. Look at this. This is on the top. A case by which depreciation will improve trade balance. Will improve mean will reduce trade deficit. Case B at the bottom. Depreciation of currency will make it worse, not better, worse in terms of trade deficit. Will not bring balance, worse B. So both cases, this pound depreciation, both cases 10% given to us in this story from the table. 10% depreciation of dollar. 10% depreciation of dollar, both cases. But the difference is here. We talk about UK. This table about UK. UK demands elasticity for import 2.5 given to us. Foreign countries demand elasticities for product from the UK, which is demand elasticity for UK export 1.5. Sum together add becomes 4. Elasticity total is 4. So more than 1. More than 1, Marshall-Lerner condition is met. So depreciation will reduce trade deficit. Let's see. This, when there is depreciation of 10%, import price will increase by 10%, plus 10%. Depreciation by 10%. Based on this elasticity, this is demand. For import, elasticity is only 2.5. Well, 2.5 elasticity, not only 2.5 elasticity for imports. So reduce depreciation of 10% means import price increase by 10%. So this will, the impact is reduction in quantity of imports. Quantity of imports reduce because price is higher because of depreciation. Imports reduced by 25%. So we sum together this farm price, this impact on the pound. So minus 15. Outpayment is minus 15. 10 minus 25 minus 15. Outpayment. Exports. No change. 0. Quantity demanded. Export price because over there in another country. But the price of exports from UK or the price of products coming from UK sold overseas becomes cheaper because currency, UK currency, pound has been devalued. There's a depreciation, so becomes cheaper. That's why increase in demand for the products exported by the UK increased by 15% based on this elasticity of 1.5. This one 25 based on the elasticity of 2.5. So based on the elasticity of 1.5 increased by, so in payment is plus 15. So out payment minus 15, in payment 15. So trade deficit has been reduced. This country, UK in this case, because of meeting the Marshall-Lerner condition of more than 1 elasticity, achieve trade balance. And again, I'm repeating, trade account is one of the bigger component in current account balance of the balance of payment. Current account balance of the BOP, balance of payment. And this case B is worse than trade balance, worse than the trade deficit because Marshall-Lerner condition of more than 1 is not met because the sum of the two, also 10% depreciation, sum of the two is less than 1, 0.3 only. What is it? UK demand for imports, elasticity is 0.2. US, foreign country, US demand elasticity for UK exports, 0.1. Sum together is 0.3 only, less than 1. Less than 1, Marshall-Lerner condition is not met. So let's see. Devaluation or depreciation of currency means imports is more expensive. The price of import. So using the elasticity of 0.2, it will give the reduction of imports by 2%, which is minus 2% based on the elasticity of 0.2. So between the two, plus 10 minus 2, positive 8 outpayments. What about export? Export depreciation means exports cheaper. Your export price become cheaper. You can export more. But based on that elasticity, increase elasticity of 0.1 increases only 1% increase. So 0 compared with plus 1 plus 1% in payments. So trade balance is not achieved. Okay, not achieved. Unlike this one, because Marshall-Lerner condition is not met. Okay, there's Marshall-Lerner condition. There's a nation's balance is increment, no change seller's price in your own currency. Illustrate the price effects of currency depreciation on a home country's trade balance. And this is the sum. Look at Canada, more than 1. So Marshall-Lerner condition or depreciation can work in Canada, can work in Italy, cannot work in Germany, cannot work in France, cannot work in Japan, can work in United Kingdom, United States. Depreciation can bring balance in all these countries that have more than one sum of two elasticities. This is for imports, elasticity for exports of that country. Next, the time path of depreciation. J-curve effect, which is the response in the beginning of depreciation. Trade deficit will increase at the beginning. Currency depreciation at the beginning, meaning short run. Currency depreciation leads to worsening of trade balance. Deficit increase in the short run after devaluation. That's the J-curve effect. Trade balance likely improves after that because of lags between changes in relative price and quantities of goods traded as time passes. In short run, worsen and later improves. This is currency deficit, export price, import price, the two sides. Demand elasticity, export demanded, import demanded, export receipt and expenditure. There's a lag here. Somewhere here. Lag here. Next, we're going to study pass-through. Pass-through is lag here. J-curve is lagging here, the lag. Where is J-curve lag? J-curve. This is appreciation currency. This US, this US United States. Dollar appreciate, dollar depreciate. Appreciate going up, depreciate going down the curve. This is according to the theory. When dollar appreciate, there's going to be trade deficit. Because when dollar appreciate, this is clear from here, up until 85, okay, up until 85. Appreciation of dollar means products produced and exported by USA more expensive. Not easy to export. At the same time, products from overseas are cheaper to be imported into the US. So more imports coming, less export going out. That's why trade deficit. It's normal. 1985, recall back. The Plaza Accord of 1985, USA at that time was having twin deficit. The fiscal deficit, which is fiscal government, G, government expenditure, minus T, government revenue, negative. That's fiscal deficit, plus trade deficit. Export minus import, trade deficit. In 1980s, USA blame Japan. You Japan, your currency, the Plaza Accord, I'm making a drama. You Japan, you Japan, your yen is too undervalued, too low, undervalued. You must increase the value of yen. You must appreciate, you must reevaluate, increase the value of yen. You must do it. My trade deficit because of you, Japan. Drama, okay? USA, I'm USA. My current, my trade deficit because of you, Japan. You, or your currency, yen, too low. You must increase. That drama happened in New York City at Plaza Hotel. So the name. So what happened? Japan agreed to increase the value of yen. So value of dollar reduced. Devaluation of US dollar vis-a-vis other currency, especially yen. Yen went up in value. This is 1985. 1985 Plaza Accord. It's a turning point. It was going up. Dollar appreciate. Now dollar depreciate. On the other hand, yen, Japan's yen, appreciate. So depreciation of dollar in 1985, if you see here, led to even worse trade deficit in 1986, in 1987, the 2 years after that, including 1985, I don't remember which month, 1985 Plaza Accord. Good to know. Plaza Accord, 1985 date. September 22, 1985. Who was there? That was during, this is the secretary, not the president. They did it, Federal Reserve. I was going to say, so this during time of Ronald Reagan. Yeah, the president, Ronald Reagan. Yes. So, September 22, 85, Plaza Accord, joint agreement signed the Plaza Hotel in New York between France, West Germany. Note that at that time, not yet Germany, West Germany. Germany came after the after the unification of Germany, post 1989, after 1989 collapse of Berlin Wall, and Germany became one in 1990. And Japan and United Kingdom, the G5, France, West Germany, Japan, UK, United States, G5. To depreciate the US dollar in relation to French, German Deutschmark, Japanese yen, and British pound. More and so for Japanese yen, because US is blaming Japan. Because of you, Japan. Go back to the, see, currency depreciation of US dollar in 1985 because of Plaza Accord led to, well, that was September already, left over about 3 months, worsening of trade deficit for the rest of 3 months in 1985. 1986 worsened trade deficit. 1987 worsened trade deficit despite dollar depreciating at that time. So that lag, and then after that, after 87, after 2 years, 86, 87, 85, the Plaza Accord. 86, 87, after that 2 years and a half and a quarter, 2 years and a quarter. In 1988, finally, trade deficit has reduced, but still trade deficit in the United States. Until today, until today, USA is a debtor nation. A debtor nation is a country that lives on debt of importing more than exporting. How can that possible? I think we learn in the last chapter or next. So this is lag here. So J curve is actually this part here, and then this part. Then after. Then beginning 88, this J curve, and then after that reduce. Here I should, this is devaluation. Here I should draw here. J curve is here. 86, 87, J. Increase in deficit. And then after that, decrease in deficit. From 88. So J. Of course, not completely straight up. J curve. So what it says, J curve. Currency depreciation will worsen trade deficit in the short run because there is a lag in the response of prices of goods exported or imported relative to each other. Price of goods exported relative to price of goods imported, or you can say relative price of imported goods relative to prices of exported goods. So there is a lag in the response between the moment you devaluate or depreciate the currency, a lag between currency depreciation and with the relative price of exports relative to price of imports. That makes currency devaluation worsen trade deficit in the short run after the lags in the long finish. In the long run, only after that, trade deficit will improve. So that was here in the picture here, 2 years lag. Yeah, two years and 1/4 lag, and beginning 88, in long term, trade deficit improves. Less and less trade deficit, but still deficit in the United States. What are the types of lags involved? So let me read it again. Currency depreciation leads to worsening of trade balance in the short run. Trade balance likely improve later on because of lags with the changes in the price and the quantities of goods traded at time passes. Yes. Just now I mentioned, well, correct also, but the slide mentioned even further. I mentioned by my word just now, there's a lag between the currency depreciation and relative price of imports and export. What the slide say, there's a lag between changes in relative price of continuous goods and quantities. There's a lag between price and quantities. Yes, you hold to that. But what I was saying was correct as well. Was correct, because I was saying what appears that currency devaluation, there's a lag with the prices, with the impact is on the trade quantities of export and import. Okay, so this trade balance will likely improve in the long run, not improve in the short run because of lags between what? Between relative prices, changes in the relative prices. Relative prices of what? When we talk about relative price, the word relative means we are comparing something. The word relative appears there not without reason. There is a reason for the word relative. It means that we compare something. Me, when I'm standing, if I go to Japan, if I go to Korea, if I'm in Malaysia, I can be considered normal. My height is normal, relatively normal. Well, my height is normal. That's what the word relative. But if I go to America, I'm standing next to American, I'm a short person, short, my height. That's the meaning, one of the meanings of relative. Here, I'm okay. Oh, he's not short. Shukri is not short. But if I go to America, Shukri is short. Tiny, short man. So we're comparing. So here, relative price of imports compared with relative price of exports. That changes in relative price, export and imports. The changes. So what changes? When a country devalue the currency, or in other words, depreciate the currency, what changes happen? Price of imports more expensive. Price of export becomes cheaper. Let me repeat. When depreciate the currency, price of imports. Yeah. Think of it this. When ringgit Malaysia depreciate, whew, if you want to travel to Japan, to Korea, to anywhere in the world, ringgit is so low. Too expensive to go to Japan. Too expensive to travel to Korea. Too expensive to go travel vacation in America because ringgit is so low. See? Depreciation here means import prices more expensive relative to export prices become cheaper. So the changes that happen because of depreciation, the impact on the quantities of export and import, there's a delay. There's a lag between the changes in relative price and the quantity, the amount of import and export. Lag in the short run. Only after few years, usually 2 years or 4 years. After 4 years, then in the long run, that depreciation will work to the betterment of the trade deficit. Can reduce trade deficit in the long run, but not in the short run. Worsening in the short run, that's the clear. Type of lags, recognition lags. Well, this is we repeating, okay? Digital lag, delivery lags, replacement lags, production lags, sleepy lags, lazy lags. I'm sorry, I'm just joking, okay? I don't mean to refer to anyone, just joking to make sure you don't fall asleep. Okay, next, exchange rate pass-through. This is we've not covered yet. The class should begin here today, but I make a review for you. The extent to which changing currency values, again, depreciation or appreciation, doesn't matter which one. The extent, usually we talk about depreciation to reduce the trade deficit. The extent to which currency values changing, which is depreciation, in our case just now, lead to changes in import and export price, and this is pass-through. Yes, pass-through is here. The change in currency the value, depreciation or appreciation, whichever, we talk about depreciation. The change in export and import price, how much? By how many percent? This is not about lag, this is about how much? By what extent? Suppose 10% depreciation. Why? According to empirical evidence from study. This is study, based on study, estimated from data 73-03. This study done by OECD, or this, I don't know, by this Jose Campa and Linda Goldberg. The titles, the study is published in November, well, sources, November 2005. So, based on empirical evidence, most of the countries here partial pass-through. Partial, not complete pass-through. In terms of the extent. In terms of the extent, it means that less than 1, okay? This. Here, pass-through. 1, sorry. Just now 1. I'm going to say 10%. 10% depreciation according to empirical evidence will lead to less than 10% changes in relative price, not 10%, which is 10% depreciation if complete pass-through will lead to import price increase by 10%. Currency depreciate by 10%. It means that import more expensive by 10% also if the currency exchange rate pass-through is 100%. It's complete. But evidence just now, we saw from the data, the study, incomplete pass-through. So, incomplete, I can say 10% depreciation will lead to import prices increase only by 5%, by half of that. Import price increase not by 10% because incomplete, by 5% only. Let's take example of this country. Which one? Yeah, Japan, near 5%. What I said just now is for 1% currency depreciation will lead to appreciation of price of imports of 0.57 only, not 1%. Not 1%. If 1% in devaluation of currency depreciate, import price should increase by 1% also. That's complete. Most of the countries are found to have that. Impartial, not full. Impartial pass-through. What's impartial? Not, well, no, impartial. Partial pass-through, not complete pass-through. Complete pass-through would be 1, or more than 1. 1. This is less than 1 because 1% increase should be 1% increase also in price of import, but less than 1. So this is partial, not complete pass-through. Partial pass-through. So clear? What are we talking about here? Partial pass-through is here. And this will be related to price of export as well. Price of export should be cheaper by 10% also if complete, but not complete. Okay, so where's the J curve? J curve is here. The lag between import and export prices and the quantity. the lag between prices and the quantities demanded. J curve is here. And there are three approaches. One is elasticity approach, the other one is absorption approach, the other one is monetary approach. So we're talking about here three approaches. So J curve is here. Pass through is here. Whether complete or incomplete, but the right word terminology used in the book in economics, complete and partial. Complete and partial. So studies have revealed that most of the countries in the study, partial, not complete, pass through. So extent to which currency values lead to changing currency values lead to changes in import and export prices. Buyers have incentive to alter purchases of foreign goods. Incentive to change my purchasing. Now, I see because of depreciation, imports is more expensive. I cannot buy Toyota. I cannot buy Honda. I assume all those imported. I cannot buy Hyundai. Of course, one of my dream is to buy this Kia electric vehicle, but it's iconic or something. That's nice Kia electric. One of my dreams. Too expensive. Beyond my affordability. I cannot afford. Yes. Currency depreciate. Oh, ringgit went down. How can I travel to Korea? How can I travel to Japan? How can I travel to the US? Too expensive to travel. Yeah. I will change my behavior, my purchasing behavior, only to the extent that prices of foreign goods, which is goods new time, Hyundai, or travel to Japan or Korea, to the extent that prices of foreign goods or services, just now, tourism, change in terms of me, the buyer's domestic currency. How much that affect ringgit from my stand or from my point of view? How much ringgit affected? I will change my quantities. Maybe less travel and maybe reducing my imports of cheese or imported products, you know. How much I change that? Only to the extent of prices of foreign goods change in terms of the price of products, cheese, Hyundai, or travel. Price of those change in terms of ringgit. So this change depends in part on exporters' willingness. On the other hand, also depends on the willingness of the exporters there. Okay, come. I give you special discount. I'll give you, special discount of a hotel. Come. Japan say, come to our hotel. Okay. Or, this is my drama only. For products, maybe the exporters will take smaller margin, smaller profits, so that they can still sell their products. Oh, now, our products, Japan, for example, Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, or whatever. Oh, in Malaysia, this is a drama only, okay? Not true. Japanese yen went up vis-a-vis other currencies. So now we are having difficulty to export, to sell our Toyotas overseas. This is drama in Japan. Okay, then we can maintain the price overseas. we're willing to absorb, we're willing to take smaller profit. We want to maintain price, same price, despite currency appreciation of Japan or currency devaluation of other countries. We maintain the price there. So it's okay, we take smaller profits. That's number 2, bullet number 2. This change depends in part on exporters' willingness to change prices they charge for goods measured in various currency. So what we know from our empirical study is partial, not complete. Partial exchange rate pass-through. Percentage change in import prices. The change in import prices is less than percentage change in the exchange rate. Exchange rate devalued by 10%. But change in import price increased by less than 10%. Less than. So exchange pass-through tends to be partial because of invoicing practices, market share considerations, distribution cost. This empirical evidence we shown earlier. First, invoicing practices. Business choose currency in which to invoice export. Dominance in dollar in invoicing across non-European countries, like Malaysia, non-European countries, help explain partial pass-through of changes in dollar exchange rate to US imports prices. When foreign producers invoice export to US in dollar, exchange rate movement will not immediately affect prices paid by importers, just on foreign producers' profit impacted, not the prices paid by importers. The importers could be, we're talking about Malaysia exporting products to Portugal, but invoice in US dollar. To me, in Malaysia, when dollar appreciate, I will get smaller amount of ringgit, because that dollar, $10, suppose $1, dollar appreciate, $1 means 4 ringgit, suppose $1 equals 4 ringgit. What happened if I export $1 to Portugal? 4 ringgit from my point of view. But what happened if dollar depreciate? Yes, dollar depreciate. Dollar appreciate. Yeah, what happened when dollar appreciate? Yeah, correct what I said. When dollar appreciate, I exchange the dollar to ringgit. I will not get 4 ringgit. I'll get only 350. So I lose money because of dollar appreciation. So affect me, foreign producers, me, exporter, but will not affect prices in Portugal, because prices in Portugal maintain $1 US. You understand now? Number one, that lag, we shouldn't use the word lag. That incomplete pass through, better use this word, because the lag is the J curve. J curve again, exchange rate devaluation or depreciation with trade deficit, lag. In the beginning, worsen trade deficit, and later on, improve trade deficit. That's lag. This one, not lag. We're talking about pass through, the extent in terms of quantities. quantities, okay? Price. Yes, quantities also, because import pricing, export prices, well, you know, well, prices affect quantities. Yes. Buyers are incentive to alter purchases for only extended prices. So, the quantities, the pass-through is less than one, less than complete. So, partial pass-through. So, number one, invoicing practices. Number two, yes, prices. Pass-through, change in the prices, less than changes, percentage change in the exchange rate. That will affect quantities. So, again, it's almost similar. So, J curve is here. Quantities. Well, price affect quantities. J curve is here. Pass-through is here. Prices. Pass-through again. Prices. Pass-through. Incomplete. Or, better word for that is partial pass-through. Between the currency depreciation and changes in import prices. Partial pass-through. J curve is here. Okay, clear. Number one, invoicing. Number two, market share consideration. Yeah, this is invoicing practices. Malaysia use invoice in dollar. Export, import, all most are using dollar, invoicing in dollar. Because market share, USA is a big market for Malaysia. Japan also big. USA is a big market for market share for Japan's export. But invoicing a lot lower. So don't ask me to explain. I can explain, but it's taking too long. We had short of time. Simple answer, because Malaysia is heavily concentrated in a market export market in the USA. Concentrated, not diversified. Market share. Foreign producers may seek to preserve market share for goods sold in the United States by keeping dollar price constant. The one that I mentioned earlier. Keep the prices the same. We just, willing to take lower profits. Forces them to accept lower profits margin when currency appreciates. Relatively strong domestic competition for imported goods in the United States. Many countries want to export to the US. Will lessen the extent of exchange rate pass-through into import prices. People just want to export. As long as I can export to the US, okay. And distribution cost of distributing imported goods to final consumers in that country. Transportation, marketing, wholesaling, retailing costs. 40% of overall consumer price. Wow. If you buy something in the US, this something, 40% goes to distribution. 60 only for the product. Goes back to the product. 40% goes to the advertisers, marketers, transport company, and the rest. As distribution costs become larger percentage of this customer price, sensitivity of consumer price to exchange rate fluctuations declines because all this distribution cost inside that country. Trucking, shipping. In the USA, to ship from where it come, where it arrived. Say it arrived in the port of what? New York. So to ship to Ohio, so the cost is shipping from New York to Ohio only. What happens outside? No impact, not impacting, no effects on it. So that's why. Now we've come to the second approach. Absorption. The first approach, elasticity, is focusing on impact on prices, effect on price. The absorption focuses on impact on income, the effects on income. Absorption, income to absorb, to consume. So the impact of depreciation on spending behavior in the domestic economy, which is on the income. Elasticity on price, on income, absorption of income. Okay, that's why I said consumer behavior, the behavior of the not consumer behavior, spending behavior, because of their income impacted by currency depreciation. So influence of domestic spending on trade balance. So impact of the depreciation on spending behavior in the domestic economy that will influence domestic, this is essentially the influence of domestic spending on trade balance because of the currency depreciation. So total spending, CIG, which is G here, net government expenditure, because minus tax. Well, this is net export, X minus import. We can rearrange that. So this total spending is CIG plus X minus M, total spending. We assume, for the sake of balance, total spending equals total output. What am I saying? What you eat is what you produce. Well, I should not use the word eat. What you consume is what you produce. So balance. You don't borrow from anyone. If I make 1,000 ringgit a month, if I'm not overspending, I don't have to borrow from anyone. I make 1,000 a month, I can consume 1,000 a month ringgit. My income 1,000 ringgit a month, I can consume 1,000 ringgit a month. I don't borrow from anyone. So total spending, we assume, equal total domestic output. So total domestic output, Y, equals total spending. See, we assume that total domestic output, Y, equals total spending. Just I said, my salary 1,000, I spend 1,000 a month. Okay. This is Y, total output, or total spending, which is CIG plus net export. Total spending equals total output, Y. Again, it's now total spending, CIG plus X minus M, total spending, this equal total output. 1,000 ringgit a month salary, 1,000 ringgit a month expenditure, spending. So we can rearrange this by noting this CIG as A and B as X minus M as B. Let's do like this. This is what I'm typing, okay? Let's see. Plus I plus G equals A. N N and let X minus M, what happened? X minus Okay. Now A is absorption, which is absorb. B, which is trade balance. Okay. So we can rewrite this. The Y equals A plus B. Okay, above. And we can rearrange this. B, bring to the left. Y. Oh. Minus A. So yeah. why can I edit? That one. Okay. So what it means that the observation approach is tells us in order to achieve trade balance, which is B net export trade balance, you must do either increase output or decrease absorption. Decrease absorption, decrease consumption, investment, or government expenditure. Increase this part of A, because CIG is A. In order to achieve B balance, increase output, production in the economy, produce more, increase GDP, or reduce consumption, investment and government expenditure, which is reduce absorption in the economy. So this is absorption approach. So we'll look at this in two conditions, whether the economy is full employment or employment in that country, in order to tackle trade deficit, which is next slide. So this is absorption approach. Trade balance B, you must play with this. Increase Y and reduce A. In the case of full employment already, you cannot increase A no more Y, because full employment. But in the case of unemployment, you can still increase Y. Same time reduce A. But in full employment country, the economy, full employment already, you cannot increase Y. You can only decrease A. Okay. Positive trade balance in national account, national output exceeds domestic. This is the definition only, okay? You must still understand. Negative trade balance means economic spending beyond its ability to produce. Positive trade balance, national output exceeds domestic absorption. Goes back to what I wrote here. Balance output exceeds absorption. Yeah. Negative economic spending beyond its ability to produce. So already absorption, still absorption. Let's go to the slide. Currency depreciation will improve an economy's trade balance only if national output rises relative to absorption. Implies that a country must increase its total output, reduce its absorption, achieve some combination of the two. Two cases. First one, there's unemployment. Trade deficit, country having trade deficit with, at that time, unemployment in the economy, in the country. So currency depreciation directs idle resources, not moving idle now, into production of goods for export and divert spending away from imports to domestically produced substitute. This will expand domestic output and improves trade balance. When there is to tackle trade deficit, unemployment in the country, room for increase in output by using the either resources and diverting that to the products of import substitute as well. Second case, full employment already in the country, but trade deficit. First one, trade deficit, but unemployment. This one, trade deficit and full employment in the country, currency depreciation improves trade balance only if B is cut. Not B. A is cut. A, domestic absorption is cut. Full employment can balance the trade only if you cut A, absorption. No more room for Y to increase because full employment already. If unemployment, yes, you can increase Y. If you cannot cut A, it's okay, you can increase your Y. That's unemployment. In the case of there is unemployment. In the case of full employment in the country, no way. There's no more room. So you must cut A. A must be cut. Could be achieved through restrictive fiscal and monetary policy. Fiscal policy, what is fiscal policy? Taxing more, higher tax, increase the income tax, increase the consumption tax, increase the GST, if there is GST, so that people consume less, so absorption is less. And trade policy as well. If you want, increase the tariff. But increasing tariff will lead to another problem. Other countries will retaliate. And also, restrictive monetary policy, increase the interest rate. Increase the interest rate. That's restrictive monetary policy. Increase interest rate, making more expensive to make loans. When expensive to get loans, consumption will be reduced. So A will be cut, cutting the absorption. And well, sacrifice on the part of those who bear the burden of such measures. Absorption approach, which is dealing with the cutting of A, and elasticity approach are complementary. Well, absorption approach dealing with increasing Y and cutting A. In the case of unemployment, you can increase Y, you can decrease A or not decrease A, yes. But in the case of full employment already, only one option, decrease the A. Y cannot increase production, but only reduce absorption. That's the case of full employment. This absorption approach and the first one that we'll study, elasticity approach, are complementary to each other. Why? Elasticity deals with the impact of prices on quantity purchased, which is the change in the quantity of goods relative to changes in the prices. This changes, the changes in quantity demanded as a reaction to changes in price at the bottom. Price changes by this much. We say on the bottom first. Price changes by this much. How much quantity changes. That's elasticity. Quantity demanded changes. That's elasticity. So this one, the absorption approach, complements elasticity approach. So in the case of this trade balance worsen, demand elasticity for import, the price increase not 10%. 10% devaluation, but price increase only 0, 10%. 0.2% only, not even 1%. So you must embark on some kind of tax, income tax or consumption tax to reduce consumption, or higher import tariffs. Yes, that's another problem. To complement this, so that prices of imports will be increased, will make it more expensive. And you can use fiscal policy by making exports cheaper, so that you can export more. So elasticity will be higher. So once you change this elasticity, well, because of the combination of this, then you can have the impact of reducing trade deficit. So these are complementary between the two. Are complementary. Elasticity, yes, elasticity, you cannot play that with that. There's elasticity, but you can complement that with fiscal and monetary policy. I mentioned just now fiscal. Monetary policy, interest rate. Anyone who borrow money to import products, you borrow money, interest is high. That's to discourage imports. Then you can cut trade deficit. That's monetary policy. Okay. Traditional approaches to currency depreciation are insufficient. Which are the traditional, the elasticity and absorption are not enough. So there is another approach, monetary. Next, because monetary consequences are not associated with the balance of payments adjustment. To the extent that consequences exist, that monetary consequences exist, they can be neutralized by domestic monetary authorities. So that's why there is a monetary approach. Currency depreciation may induce temporary improvement in the nation's balance of payment position. So according to monetary approach, currency depreciation may induce temporary improvement in balance of payments position. Assume initially there's an equilibrium in home country's money market. Depreciation of home currency will increase price level. So when depreciate, price level increase because imports price increase. Domestic currency process of potential imports and export, import prices will increase. when there is a devaluation, there is going to be increased demand for money because larger amounts are needed for the transaction of imports. And also when you export, your prices, this is depreciation, okay, cheaper, but when you import, prices are higher, so needed more money, larger amount of money, so increased demand for money because prices of imports are more expensive. When there's a depreciation, imports more expensive. Well, so if that increase in the money demand not fulfilled from domestic sources, there's a need of inflow of money from overseas will occur. If that money demand that's increased, not fulfilled from domestic sources, an inflow of money from overseas will occur, either through investment coming, either through loans. So that's another story. This will result in balance of payment supply